If you read the catalog, you will see that there are a number of pieces that are studied extensively there but are not here. And there are various reasons for that. One is purely conservation or the fragility of the objects. We were very fortunate to get 39 of the 52 objects which are in the catalog because they are important and they are fragile. So we're grateful to all the lenders. Many of them are here today, Volker-Kran from the Bode Museum in Berlin, for example. And thank you for that. But naturally, some institutions were reluctant to lend. We still studied them and cataloged them. And then the other factor, a sad one today, is the embargo, now a year old, of all works of art coming from or between Russia and the United States. My good friend Sergei Androsov at the Hermitage Museum in Russia was very supportive of this project. All of the works that we hope to come are studied and cataloged, but they just are not here. We could hope that they might come to the Kimball, but I wouldn't count on it. I just hope that this embargo ends soon, because one of the great things after 1989 has been to reintegrate the objects in Russian collections into major international exhibitions. We'd very much hope to do that here. Bernini doesn't really need an introduction. I think all of you came, at least partly because you know who he is, but he was one of the greatest sculptors in the history of the world, certainly the greatest of the 17th century. You're looking at the only marble that we have here in the exhibition. It's a work in the Met's collection. It represents the young Bernini when he was 17 or 18, working with his father Pietro, and it, I think, instantly shows why he was so admired. First, the facility of his carving. He could carve hard stone as if it was butter. The inventiveness of his compositions, his active figures, the theatricality of his compositions, all of this attests to why he was an immediate sensation in Rome. The other factor to Bernini is the sheer magnitude of his work throughout the city of Rome. His genius was recognized quickly, and he was harnessed to make some of the huge projects throughout the city of Rome, from the bridges on the Ponte Sant'Angelo that are the angels on the Ponte Sant'Angelo that are represented in model form here, to the massive works like the Baldacchino or the Celestial Glory in St. Peter's. Really, Rome is a different city because of Bernini. With some of the earliest models by Bernini that we know, the fact is that we have no early models by Bernini. It's only when he's in his late 20s, early 30s that we begin to have some terre clay models. He must have been doing models earlier. They didn't survive. And this gives you a quick sense why they didn't survive. These are two models of Longinus, the Roman centurion, who's a relic of whose is preserved in St. Peter's. The colossal sculpture that Bernini made is represented behind you in a large-scale blow-up photograph. We've tried, wherever possible, to have large photographs to suggest the scale that exists between these small models and Bernini's final productions. And part of his genius, I think, was to be able to take a palm-sized, a small lump of clay, model it into something, and project and imagine what it would look like at a large scale. So he's using this for multiple purposes. He's getting the general pose. He has a sort of overall pattern with a tooth claw that suggests patterning, which he actually did on the surface of the marble. He used different intensities of tooth claws to suggest the difference of texture of cloth from that of the surface of skin. Because it was such a big, colossal sculpture drenched with light, he needed these grooves in order to kind of catch the light. And so I think he's playing with that a little bit here to sort of sense the texturing of the whole thing. But it's a very strong and striking model. This has also been surrounded by drawings, and drawings was sort of my contribution to the show in a certain way. These are from Dusseldorf, a series of drawings that was made for Longinus, and you can see their earlier studies, and you can see he's almost obsessed in a serial way with individual problems. He was obsessed with a knot of drapery, which in an early part of the composition. He later did away with that composition completely, but at that moment he was trying to figure out how to make this knot, and he turned to paper in order to figure out how to accomplish that. So one of the points of this exhibition is to sort of see back and forth whether he would turn to the modeling stand or when he would turn to his sketch pad. And the truth is they're in many ways interchangeable. They have different roles for him. But in the end, they're very much about problem solving. His drawings are not necessarily beautiful. They really are meant to see how to accomplish something.
For the fountain that stands at the southern end of Piazza Navona in Rome. You can also see an image of the fountain figure off here to my right. Just after Bernini had finished executing the great Fountain of the Four Rivers in Piazza Navona, which we have various models for here, the Pope called Bernini to execute another fountain at the southern end, which stood opposite his palace. And we have a series of preparatory drawings as well as another model lent by Berlin that sort of outlines how Bernini tried to create a design that was pleasing for the Pope. And the curious thing that seems to have happened is that he produced a couple lackluster designs, and the Pope kept pushing Bernini to really knock the socks off of a particular design. And in order to escape embarrassment and to ensure that the commission did not go to a rival, what seems to have happened is that Bernini realized he really needed to make an absolutely spectacular, lavish presentation model, and this is what ensued. Beautifully executed, very, very detailed, which is different from other types of models you will see in the exhibition, which are called bozzetti, or sketch models. This is really what is termed a modello. It's highly finished. It could have been used by the sculptor who was hired to execute the fountain to copy from. But it's just an absolutely exquisitely executed work of clay.